my friend Gage is gonna talk to you. Oh, and Jean Claude, he'll be there, oh, too. Even though they're not close together, they're far away. There, one's in Tampa, the other one's in LA. Oh, Gage, what's the show called again?
Fucking, it's Almost Adults. Shit.
Almost adult. Shit.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Chillcast.
Welcome to Chillcast.
Yeah. We've had a crazy couple of interviews the past few weeks, or guest, I should say.
Yeah, so last week would have been the week where we released Rice Pirate's interview. Hopefully people enjoyed that one. I think we had a lot of fun speaking with him.
We had a lot of fun, and I want to thank him for his time because he spent a lot of time with us. More time than we asked for, actually. So
Yeah. More time than we deserved, I guess.
I wouldn't say
okay, that's a bad thing to say, but
yeah, don't you dare embarrass me in front of the Almost Adults audience.
We're definitely thankful for spending the time with Mick Lauer. So, thank you again, Mick.
Yes, thank you, Mick.
Hopefully everything's going well.
So we're going to have sort of a chill cast today. It's just going to be me and Jean Claude. We are just going to do some catching up and seeing how everything is going down.
Of course. Gage has prepared a couple of different topics for today. A lot of exciting things that we need to get covered.
We'll see if we can get to
45 minutes.
Because
considering it's just the two of us, we should be able to tackle a bunch of different topics.
But I also don't want to be too focused on the topics because I want us to sort of be relaxed and just have a casual talk because I think that'll be good. And
as always.
Yes, one more thing. This is going to be a shorter podcast because Jean Claude hates us and hates you guys especially. Actually, I don't know why. Jean Claude, why is this a shorter podcast?
This is actually the week of my birthday, and I'm actually going to my father's house to celebrate with some dinner.
Yeah,
so,
happy birthday to Jean Claude.
Thank you. At this point, by the time this airs, it'll be far from when my birthday was, but thank
everyone.
Everyone
Send him tweets. He doesn't have a Twitter.
I don't have a Twitter. I should get on that and set that up. I release some artwork and cartoons every once in a while. Very rarely,
Yeah. Kat showed me the art that you did of, gosh, what was it? I want to say Ash Ketchum for some reason.
Was it
recently? It was like you drew something on your birthday with her during a Twitch stream, I think.
Dang, I don't remember drawing. It was my birthday?
I'm going to pull it up because I'm interested.
It might have been a crossover, because recently I'd drawn a crossover of an anime called Gurren Lagann and Toy Story. That was interesting.
Maybe we can link. It was Toy Story and something else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Gurren Lagann is an anime that is very good, and I'm sure some of our viewers have seen it, or some of our listeners have seen it, but we were sitting in Twitch, and so many people have taken this anime and they've crossed it over with a bunch of other cartoons. For example, Rick and Morty, they had a crossover. They had one with Regular Show and something else. So we were trying to think of something that had never been done before, and Toy Story came up.
Follow Jean Claude on twitch.tv/premiummuffinmix.
Yeah, if you care to see me draw more wacky crossovers of Toy Story and who knows what other anime, send us a tweet maybe. Maybe I'll read it and draw something.
I wish I could draw like you. Then I could actually stream with some people. I've been trying to stream the past couple of podcasts, just me editing, because I think people would enjoy sort of the process that I go through to edit these podcasts. I was talking about this today with someone. Since we're on Skype, our comedic timing is a bit off. So I have to edit that and make sure. And also, we're damn polite. So we pause when people want to talk.
Of course.
So I sometimes have to put our voice sort of interrupting another person's voice to make it quicker and snappier.
I've noticed that in some of our podcasts. I've noticed that in a couple of the things that you've edited, and it works really well. It's definitely, the word snap encompasses that idea pretty well, because the timing is very snappy if you want to get a joke across. And you've also, I believe, cut and pasted some people's lines here and there to add emphasis. For example, Kat's sexy.
Oh no, that sexy
did that
was
happen?
Actually, I just got that from freesoundcloud.org. No one actually said that in the podcast. That was...
Oh really? That wasn't Kat that said that?
No, that was complete... Would Kat really say sexy in that voice?
I don't know.
That's not in character for Kat.
I assumed that you had just found some point in the podcast where she said that in that way and just copy and pasted it somewhere else. But that makes a lot more sense.
That was one of my favorite gags. I would like to do that more in podcasts, but A, I don't really see any opportunity to do that, and B, I don't want to go crazy with sound effects because I like them to be like little special nuggets that you sort of pick up along the way.
Yeah, I think, for example, that episode was actually chock full of little tidbits, little Hershey kisses of good sound effects.
Yeah, you're like, put in a crazy sound effects here. Then I put in like an elephant and a register dinging and something else. And when you were beatboxing with the sex doctor, you're going boom, 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 and I put a beat over that.
Yeah, that was the best. I think your Twitch streams definitely cater to a very specific niche of audience members, but you should still do it regardless.
Yeah, I should still do it. It's a little frustrating. I mean, I don't mind streaming by myself, but the point of streaming is to like talk to other people and sort of engage. And I understand not every one of my Twitter followers or Facebook friends want to engage with me exactly at that time. But like, it frustrates me to see some people sort of in the stream and I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. And then they leave 3 seconds later without just saying hi or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's the immediacy of the internet, and you pop in, say, oh, I wonder what's going on in this little stream, and then, oh, I'm not that interested.
And I know we just talked to Mick, and we had a huge talk about, like, why numbers on the internet don't matter, but damn, son, sometimes it's discouraging.
Yeah. In that case, it matters more during the beginning, I would say. Because even those 1 or 2 people that are watching you, those are people that you want to interact with. Once it reaches the numbers, even as much as double digits where you have 10 or so people in there, it starts to get to the point where it becomes this fog of audience members where you can't necessarily interact with them on a one-to-one level. At that point, there's like a paradigm shift where it starts to become you can't really interact with them and the numbers don't really matter anymore.
Well, I'm sure we could interact with a few of them. I would like someone to email us at, our email is almostadultspodcast@gmail.com. We haven't gotten any emails, and I would like our audience to sort of engage with us. And I know what we usually do this at the end, but like we're on Twitter and Instagram, and you can rate us on iTunes, and we'll probably read it on the show if we catch it in time. Yeah, those are my thoughts on streaming. And, oh, damn, I know this isn't one of the topics I put down, but recently I went to an art festival here in Burbank. And did you watch the Grump Couch video by chance?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up is because there's an art piece at the end of the song by one of my artist friends, Michelle Stanford. And because she drew that, we ended up talking on Twitter, and I went to her booth, and she was very, very nice. And she had like a comic and a Patreon. So
nice.
I made a new friend today, and I met her boyfriend too. They're both very nice people.
Are they both artists?
No, her boyfriend is more of a story person.
I gotcha.
But I respect that because I cannot draw worth a diggly dang, and I say I can write stories.
That's super important. My old roommate in college, my first roommate, was in the film school. I'm sure we talked about this a little bit on a podcast. One of these podcasts, I know I mentioned it. He lives in New York currently, and he's been telling me recently how he's been focusing strictly on getting better at writing, and he tries to write every day anyways. And when he introduces himself to people now, he can confidently tell them that he's in fact a writer, and he considers himself to be a damn good one. I actually haven't read any of his stuff recently, but I believe in the fact that he's a good writer. I can see that. That's great.
I've been telling people I was a writer, and that actually put a lot of pressure and stress on me that I put on myself, realistically, that I'm like, oh, I need to write every day. I need to be a good writer since this is the thing I strive to do. Like, I was talking a little bit about this 2 weeks ago with Vinny, but I don't necessarily want to pin myself as like a writer or a filmmaker or an editor. I want to do everything, just a little bit. So I've been focusing on editing mainly because we record these way in advance, so we don't have a lot of problems. And as of now, we have like one that is ready to go up. The other is still on its first draft, and I'm working on Vinny's one right now, and I haven't even touched the Mick one at this point.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been focusing on audio editing right now, and I've been getting gradually better at that.
Good. Ultimately, even though, you don't want to pin yourself down to one specific thing and run that as who you are, I think it's important still to develop and have this skill set, which you were doing. obviously. Being able to be a good audio editor and engineer and that kind of thing is a very important skill set, especially in this line of work.
I would like to get back into writing, though. I was working on a pilot recently, and I was working on it with Thomas Adams, and eventually I had to put it to the side a little bit to look for jobs and such.
I gotcha. What was the pilot for?
The pilot isn't for anything in particular. I don't really want to give too much details on it, but it sort of relates to my work life. It's not like there's any buyers for it or anything. I think it's a cool idea, and I would like to shop it around eventually.
So it's like a slice of life kind of tale?
Yeah, it's a very slice of life kind of tale, and I see some... I don't want to be too vague and hang up too much about this, but I think it's relatable for especially this time in the modern era. It's about the internet, I can say that. About how kind of fame is fleeting on the internet. That's all I'll say about that.
Gotcha. That is 100% true. I hope that you eventually come back to that and are able to make something of it, because those are always fun when those come to fruition.
I would very much like to, but yeah, I've been super busy with this podcast, and recently one of my writing instructors, well, actually two of my writing instructors wanted to meet up, and I didn't feel like I've done anything, because all I've done is written a spec script, and I've been working on this pilot script for a while, and I haven't really opened Celtics to really just dabble and write stuff. Though I did write the promos that we are going to say after this. So that's something, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm excited to do those. It'll be an enjoyable experience, I'm sure.
It will. But speaking of jobs and getting interviews, I recently got an interview over at Warner Brothers.
That's amazing.
We will see how that goes. I have a group interview next Tuesday.
So backstory, how did you get involved with Warner Brothers in the first place?
When me and my dad initially came to California, my dad and I, we were going around and I was interviewing in a few places, and we stopped by Warner Brothers to take the studio tour. And if you haven't taken the studio tour on Warner Brothers, I highly recommend it. They have a lot of cool Batman stuff. They have a lot of cool Harry Potter stuff. They have some stuff from Friends and Mad Max Fury Road and the Lego Movie.
Ooh.
A lot of great stuff. I'll send you some of those pictures. And I might put one of those as the thumbnail for
you should do that.
Yeah. And I was talking to a tour guide, and I'm like, this seems like a lot of fun. She's like, yeah, it's all right. And I'm like, I want to do this. And she's like, okay, just apply online. And I did.
Okay.
And
nice.
They gave me a call back, and they said, hey, we want you to do a group interview, and it's only seasonal, but it's a job.
It is indeed a job, and it's a job in Warner Brothers. Those kind of situations, though, so you would be working in the lot or something like that?
Yes, I would be working on the lot. I would be working, mainly I'm going to start off in customer service, if I get the job, that is. And eventually I'm going to move up to tour guide, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, they are technically a way to get your foot in the door, especially at a place like Warner Brothers or something like that. It's hard to transition if you want to do something more production-wise in Warner Brothers. But hey, at least you're an employee there. You can say something like that, and you just got to be tenacious.
I got to be tenacious as the D.
Call up Jack Black, who I don't even know is affiliated with Warner Brothers, but get him on the phone. He'll help you out.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Sorry, I was laughing to give times because I was trying to think of like a bad Warner Brothers movie that Jack Black was in, but I'm like, I probably shouldn't be trashing Warner Brothers, especially if I get the job.
Yeah, I can't even honestly think of any Warner Brothers movies that Jack Black was in.
No,
the fifth Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, he was Harry Potter, just for that one movie.
Yeah, it was very strange.
That's why it was so bad.
Just kind of shoved off for a movie, and Jack Black was like, I gotta get in on this.
I'm going in Harry Potter now.
Is that your Jack Black
impression? That's my Jack Black impression, ladies and gentlemen.
I'd give it like a 6 out of 10.
Really? That low?
Yeah.
Maybe I should work on that a little bit.
Just a
I'm trying to get into voice acting a little bit on Newgrounds. Yeah, really? I've talked to a few people, and I know it's 2016 and Newgrounds is not primarily the hottest thing right now, but I like the animations on Newgrounds, and I think there's a very small and niche community there, and I think it would be good. I want to audition for a Sonic the Hedgehog voice, and I'm teaming up with this one guy who I don't want to say right now for voice acting, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
That's exciting. I think you'd do well in a Sonic cartoon. And I had a Newgrounds account for a little while. This was also past kind of the golden age of Newgrounds, where some of the main animators had moved on to YouTube and stuff like that. So I was kind of coming into it kind of end of the hump. But I found some cool people doing animations, and I never collaborated with anyone, but I found some royalty-free music that people had produced. A lot of the stuff there is really good, actually. It's a cool website for creators.
Speaking of royalty-free music, we need to put sweet jams underneath our podcasts.
We do.
Primarily, I just haven't been doing it because, I don't know, I didn't want to search for the music, but Jean Claude made the suggestion, and I'm like, yeah, he's kind of right. It would be a lot better with music, so I'm trying that out.
I mean, even just to sample it. If it's not better, if it feels like it's detracting from the audio, it might, and that's fine.
I was thinking of a jazzy tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some classy stuff.
That'd
be great.
I would like to do classical music, but Sleepycast has done that in the past, and I don't want to be too similar to them. We already are like a bullshit podcast.
Oh, man. You just said Sleepycast was a bullshit podcast. McLauer's never going to talk to us again.
No, I'm saying they talk about bullshit topics. I love Sleepy Cabin. They're great. They're my best friends. I know the best people in Sleepy Cabin.
I know you do. It's one of the coolest things.
I don't know very many people in Sleepy Cabin.
You know at least one person.
I know
and
at least
impressive.
One.
So that's great.
Yeah, that's out of there. So this is almost like a production meeting. We've covered all right, yeah, we're doing promos. All right, we got to put music under there.
Doing promos? All right, next we're getting doing some audio under here. Edit that clip out.
Well, the thing you need to know about me and Jean Claude is that we don't really talk very often. Really, if we didn't have a podcast, we would talk like maybe once every 3 months. Not because we hate each other, but we're both super busy with whatever.
Yeah, so what was your final point from that?
I have no final point. I'm just
okay.
I'm just saying to the audience that if it sounds like we're catching up and taking notes on the podcast, it's because we are. We're just Jean Claude and I are very hard to get together in a room. And technically, we aren't in a room together.
We're not. No, we are in fact across the country. Pretty much as far across the country as you can get.
Okay, this is the last sort of rant before we move on to our next topic. But my brother is coming to California in June.
Which one? Older or
younger?
My
older brother, Pierce.
That's right.
Yeah.
You said that. He's getting a job doing...
He's working for Amazon, I believe.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's cool.
But we did not know the location till very, very recently.
Oh, I didn't realize it wasn't settled that it was going to be in California. That's amazing.
No, it wasn't settled till like a few days ago. And he's going to be an hour away from LA, so...
Dope. You'll be able to see some family.
Yeah, I got some family, including my cousin that's also in LA.
Yeah, well, that'll make things a little bit easier for your parents. They don't have to... They can go to California and visit 2 of their sons.
And their nephew.
Kill 3 birds with one car drive.
Realistically, it would probably be a plane ride. Let's be honest. That's
True,
a pretty
after
far.
After your father's last debacle with that, probably doesn't want to do it again.
The infamous car ride where we got stuck in New Mexico?
Yeah, that's true. Reference back to episode 2 if you ever want to hear that story.
What is the title of that? Listening
Sex
to
Doctor
the Sex
and
Doctor
the
on
faults in our
Scam Radio
cars,
in our
like
faulty
that.
cars. I don't know why I like these long titles, but I like that they cover a lot of topics in sort of a long period of time.
Yeah, you know exactly what you're getting into just by the title name. All right, shifting topics.
Well, we're already sort of talking about this, but this is our 6th podcast, not including the bonus episode that we put out. And technically, we've been recording this since January. So by this time, it's either going to be May. Well, it's probably going to be May. Not quite June. But we've been doing this for a while. And how are you feeling, Jean Claude?
I'm feeling good. It's not because of the podcast, but I've been feeling pretty tired as of late.
I thought you meant it's not because of the podcast I'm feeling good, but whatever.
No, that was a separate thought. Sorry. I've been feeling, just with everything going on right now, it slowly burns you out, but I'm feeling like I'm getting over it. I'm getting back in the groove. I have another set of exams coming up about 2 weeks.
Yes, I wanted to ask about that. So should we record the next week?
Next week's fine. The week after that, we may take a sabbatical.
I think we have enough podcasts to sort of hold us over through your exams.
Yeah, for at least a week. That'll be fine.
We might even do 2 next week, just to cover our bases.
That seems okay. So I'm feeling good. I'm liking it. I don't see any of our statistics on iTunes, so I don't really know how we're doing in that regard. But I think that's a little bit better because I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it.
If you want, I could share with you the statistics. Like after this podcast, I'll send you the link and the login info.
Yeah,
I understand if you don't want to look at it, though.
If you send me the login info, then I can look it up at my own discretion, and that'll be good. How about you? How are you feeling about it?
I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good, and it's being like, I'll just say it, filmmaker and writer, it's hard to put out content on the regular, but with this, I have a schedule, and I have a reliable co-host, and so I feel pretty good about getting content. I'm getting an hour's worth of content out, maybe a little less, but pretty much an hour every week, and that's good, and I have time to work on other projects, such as jobs and art and Twitch streaming. So I feel pretty good about it. I don't necessarily know where the future is going with this podcast, but I'm very excited. Oh, this is a good transition into our other topic, because I feel like I sort of dragged Jean Claude into this podcast, and I'm like, hey, we haven't really talked in a while, we should do something, we should do like a project, like a podcast or something. And now it's sort of like a weekly thing. And when we were talking to Mick last week, Jean Claude was kind of thinking about whether he should go doctor route or the animator route. And my concern in my head, because I'm a selfish bastard, I was like, oh no, I think I'm dragging Jean Claude into these like Starbomb or Gauge Your Interest or the podcast. I feel like I'm dragging him into these projects. What exactly are your thoughts on that?
Well, at first, I didn't expect this to take off like it did and actually become the large of a project as it actually has become. And in that respect, it's surprising. Not a bad thing, but surprising. And it's not detracting from my life or my schoolwork in any way. This is a very reasonable amount of time that I can dedicate to this podcast, and I think everything's been balancing out pretty well. It definitely sections off, because unfortunately, in something like medicine, you can find yourself being very absorbed into just that, and you start becoming this hollow shell of a person who just studies all day, and that's no good. So this kind of gives me an out in that respect, and it also gives me a way of just venting week after week if I have things to vent about.
Would you say I'm grounding you into reality?
Sure. Yes, you could say that. It's definitely a way to section myself from strictly a educational place. I can't think of the right word that I want to use. Yeah, so it's good. It's very good. I wouldn't be doing this unless I wanted to. So if at any point I decided I am not feeling this anymore, that would be something that we'd sit down and we talk about. But for how we're going and for the respective future, I'm very passionate about doing this. So I think it's going well.
All right.
And the more interviewees that we get on the show, I think that'll even spark even more interest.
That's also something I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about a lot of things. I just didn't write them down. I literally wrote out some of these topics like 5 minutes before we started talking.
Yeah, so this past week I actually sent an email out to Mick Lauer to thank him for coming on the podcast, and also to an internet artist named, we spoke about her on the Vinny podcast, Nick Terhorst, and I get to receive an email back from her to see whether or not she's interested in coming on the podcast, but that was one of the emails I need to send out. I just realized today, I don't know how he slipped out of my mind, but I would love at some point, if we could, to get Harry Partridge on here. He is an amazing animator, and that would be cool. I don't know why I'm just going for like artists and animators, but we can branch out from there.
No. I love artists and animators, and I keep telling Jean Claude, I'm not necessarily scolding him for it or anything, but I just wanted to keep reminding him that we really want people that we respect on this podcast. That's why we have our friends, and that's why we have people like Mick. We respect them, and we really like their work, and I don't want to bring on just... Not even necessarily Joe Schmo. I would like to hear Joe Schmo. If he has an interesting topic, then yeah, let's listen to Joe Schmo. But what I'm saying is that we've had a few opportunities to have some guests on. Jean Claude, you don't know about this, but we had some opportunities for some people to kind of go in on our end. And I didn't feel comfortable doing that because I didn't really respect their work as much as everyone else's.
What do you mean, go in on our end?
I don't know why I phrased that so weird. We had a few opportunities for some notable people to be on the podcast, and I said no because I either didn't know their work well enough or I didn't want to associate them for whatever reason.
Yeah, I totally respect that. If someone offers to be on the podcast or says that they would like to be on the podcast, but maybe we don't see eye to eye with them, that's a perfectly acceptable reason to not have them on the podcast. This is something that we do for our personal enjoyment, and we should be able to have fun.
Back off, guys. This is our podcast. Make your own podcast.
Jesus, no, not like that. Just... Actually, it would be kind of a cool experiment at some point, maybe to bring on someone who has wildly, radically different views than us and have a debate cast.
That's interesting because earlier I brought up this was sort of a bullshit podcast where we talk about bullshit stuff. Yes, I know the title is Almost Adults and we have a description saying like we're keeping childhood innocence and going into adulthood, but that's a very loose base that we have. Mostly we just talk about whatever we want, and that's the base basis that we have, that's what I pitched to Pipe Dreams Podcast. That I'm like, hey, this is the podcast. This is sort of the loose thing, but really we just talk about whatever with a couple of topics. So we could bring a producer of Pipe Dream Podcast on the show and sort of debate our points.
Yeah. I'd be interested in doing that. I've never spoken with any of the people from Pipe Dreams Podcast. That's been your effort, but I'd be interested in speaking with them, maybe bringing them on here, see what they have to say. Maybe they'll rip us apart. Who knows?
Yeah. They'll come on with their suspenders and cigar and say, yeah, you're fired.
Parker.
Get some Spider-Man photos.
Okay, jeez, James.
James.
So I actually had another idea
Sure.
for a possible podcast in the future. It would kind of probably be one of those bonus podcasts that we release. And the idea is we have about 4 or 5 people max at one time. And the idea is we start the podcast and everyone starts doing an accent. And they are doing that accent and they have a specific character in mind. And they could be whatever character they want. And we go to the podcast and we just have a conversation like normal, just talking about shooting the shit, doing whatever. But if someone's accent shifts or changes or they break character or they lose the accent somehow, then they have to sign off. They get off.
Oh man,
it starts
it's like
narrowing
a last
down.
man standing podcast.
Yeah, it goes down to one last standing, and then when that person is the winner of the group, the last man standing, then it starts over, but everyone has to come in as a different character with a different accent, and it starts back off to the beginning. That was just a rough idea that I had.
My only concern with that would be the accents would be a little bit distracting. And
True.
It depends on how well we go. I think we could just do one round with that as a podcast.
Yeah, it could even just be like a 10-minute segment, not even a whole bonus length
Yeah,
podcast.
if we do something short like 10 minutes, then I could probably have that out within like a day.
If it doesn't work, then that's 10 minutes lost of our time, but I didn't know. Maybe it could be a cool experiment.
It will be like hours of editing on my side.
True. She's like, oh my god, his accent. I don't know what he's saying here. I need to lower the levels on that.
Geez.
He's peaking so
He's
bad.
peaking so bad. But no, I would like to do a little more experimental stuff when we get a little more comfortable. Probably when you're out of the exam mode. Yeah, I would like to do some experimental stuff on the podcast. And I just wanted to say some guests that we are vying for. We are vying for Brian Wecht, who is also known as Ninja Brian.
Amazing. I have so many questions lined up for him.
I think he fits the theme of the podcast well because he is a doctor, but he left Queen Mary University of London to come to California to be a YouTube guy with like a kid and a wife. So that's interesting.
Yeah, he fits very well in here. Speaking of London and going to school in London, I might actually be applying to do a study abroad medical school program.
Really?
And do 2 years studying at St. George's Medical School in London and then 2 years back here in America.
Very cool, man.
So yeah, and then people that finish this master's program through USF are guaranteed an interview at their medical school. I guess they have respect for these students. So that's a bonus.
RESPECT. Tell me what it means to me.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of confidence spelling that word.
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
It was like at a spelling bee, and I'm like, I don't want to mess it up.
Damn. So that was that. We got some people in mind for the future. Harry Partridge would be great. Nick Horst, I would love to have her on.
Do you mind
as
if I
well.
say the other guy? Robert Ross.
Shoot.
We would like Robert Ross to sort of appear because
Of course.
he is working insanely hard on Gameaverse, and the only one who matches his dedication is Jean Claude.
Oh man, no.
That's what Jean Claude said to me in private. He's like, listen, I want to have him animate off with Rubber Ross, and we're going to have him on the podcast, and we're just going to animate the whole time, and Gage is going to moderate it.
Oh, I wouldn't deny that. I would do that. I would 100% do that just to see what happens. Mine would degrade into just poop by the end of the podcast, but that would be a cool idea. And he'd be able to talk about his old couch and missing the couch and his feelings on that.
I don't think I mentioned this last podcast, but, well, I mentioned that the couch has a Twitter account, but it has more followers than me, which makes me mad.
An inanimate object has more followers than
It's even worse since I own the damn thing and it's in my living room. It's just mocking me every time I walk by. It's like, hey, did you check up on Twitter? I know I did because people are actually concerned about my opinion. And I'm like, shut up, couch.
Shut up, I own you.
I own you.
Damn. Did your hair explode like Hades from Hercules?
I wish it did.
Yeah. I was looking at some character design drawings this morning of Hades, and he was a lot chunkier in face when they first started sketching out some ideas for Hades. He kind of had the same basis, like the flame hair and the weird teeth, but he was a chunk. He was a chunky dude.
And that ended up being Danny DeVito. No, Danny DeVito's character was chunky.
Oh, okay, sorry. No, okay, yeah, that makes more
sense.
sense.
I didn't say Danny DeVito voiced Hades.
Was Hades like, I don't think so.
I don't think I've ever watched Hercules, to be honest.
Really?
No, I haven't watched a lot of Disney movies. I haven't watched Mulan, I haven't watched Snow White, haven't watched Sleeping Beauty. There's a lot I'm probably forgetting, but...
You should do that. It's a
Hercules?
great movie. It is.
Okay, I've heard mixed things about it, honestly.
No, I think it's got a lot to offer. It was in the time of the Renaissance of Disney animation where it sparked back up again.
That was like on the decline, though, right?
Oh, I don't think so. No, after I think Hercules came out, I don't remember the exact timeline. I know Aladdin came out, and Aladdin was one of the last
Aladdin
couple
was
ones.
like the peak of Disney animation. It was just like great animation, great voice acting, entertaining story.
Well, there's a lot more of a history behind the Disney animation. There's the different eras, and the movies like Aladdin, Hercules, Mulan, those all came near the end in like the Renaissance when it kind of sparked back up. And then we had the Quiet Era and shift to kind of more 3D things, and then we had the final 2D animated traditionally one, the
Home on the
Princess and the Frog.
Range.
Oh yeah, yeah. Is that the one with
That's
the
one
dogs?
with cows.
Oh, God.
Oh no! I think the last one was actually Princess and the Frog.
Yeah,
which I didn't think was that bad. I really liked the villain song on that one.
I never saw that movie actually.
Just look up Friends on the Other Side, and it's sung by Keith David, who is a fantastic actor.
Dang,
it's visually
cool.
really interesting and really catchy.
Yeah, I know that whole movie actually had some pretty crazy animation, like effects. Like things get really trippy.
Oh yeah,
apparently.
it was like their swan song for 2D animation. Or actually, no, I don't think it was intended to be, but it was like supposed to be their big comeback or whatever.
Still cool though. So we're winding down near the end of this. What's our last topic that we should hit?
Oh man, we have so many. Dieting. That's the last one we didn't get to.
So start us off on dieting. What are your views on that?
It's hard. I'm trying to do some salad and cut out sweets completely from my diet. I've cut out mostly fast food, mostly soda, but I've done that for a while now. And I'm not doing the exercise thing, which I really should.
It's hard. That portion is very difficult, finding time to do that.
It's hard to make time, bro. So I've been eating more salads, and I've tried to eat ice cream and sweets very sparingly. But sometimes I get these cravings, son, and I can't help it.
Damn. See, unfortunately, I have the exact... Well, unfortunately, what am I saying? Some people would kill for my genes. I have the exact opposite problem. I've been trying to desperately gain weight because considering my height, me being 6'3", and my weight for that, I'm actually pretty low in where I should be in terms of weight compared to my height. And I've been trying to gain weight, and it's equally as difficult, but I have nothing to complain about. I guess I'm not obese.
Have you ever had to, like, really, really diet? Have you ever had to sit down and be like, okay, I need to lose weight by dieting, and this is how I'm going to do it? Have you ever had that problem?
Me?
Yes.
No, I've always been blessed to be skinny. My father's the same way. When he was my age, he was just skinny. I don't know what it is, but I've had the same kind of feelings though of like having to put down a regimen, but it was, okay, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. so I can cook myself 3 eggs, 3 pieces of toast, that kind of thing. 2 hours later, I'm going to have a protein shake. 2 hours later, I'm going to have a lunch with a big plate of rice and a chicken breast. 2 hours later, I'm going to have another protein shake.
Especially
that kind of thing.
sort of artistic people like us. You do animating. I mainly do edits for the podcast, but when I sit down and start editing, and I assume it's the same with you animating, you kind of lose track of time and lose track of like your food schedule. It's hard to keep
100%.
on a schedule.
If I had a cup of coffee next to me, I'd probably get up to refill my cup of coffee, but I could go for a good couple hours and just lose track of time, just sipping on coffee, not eating. And timers have become my go-to choice. I just set a timer for 2 hours, 2-hour intervals, and then get up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, really? And then I get up, I make myself a shake, or I get myself a bar. But as of late, I've been unfortunately slacking on that.
It's also nice to sort of have a buddy to do workout stuff with, because for a while I was hiking with a friend of mine, and we just sort of stopped because she was getting jobs and I was getting jobs, or searching for jobs, I should say. And we just sort of stopped doing that. And I'm like, kind of need to get back into it because I love hiking. Hiking's so much fun, especially when you're with someone you can talk to.
Yeah, if it's a physical activity where it's something like that, where you can actually look at the surroundings and nature and get yourself distracted. See, I can't jog. I can't just go out on the sidewalk and jog day after day. It's boring to me. I can't, even with music, I just can't do it. So I have to do something like rock climbing every Friday or something like that with my friends, where it takes your mind off of it and it's so different that you don't get bored.
Why don't you listen to podcasts while running?
I actually was listening to the podcast when I was doodling the other day. So
that's
podcast?
What I do. This
podcast.
very podcast. But yeah, we just released our second episode, and I don't want to say any stats, but that's been doing a lot better than the first episode.
Good. Hey,
partially
that's awesome.
Because we did a little more advertising with that, Twitter and such, or Facebook and such.
It'll slowly start to pick up. What a way to end the podcast. Just saying thank you to all of our listeners
thanks for listening to us. I know Jean Claude isn't that entertaining, but hey, I'm here and I'll help you out.
That's true. Gage just puts me on his shoulders every week and just carries me to victory.
I instantly regret saying that. I feel bad. You're one heck of a co-host, son.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, and I'm happy to be here.
Concluding thoughts?
Concluding thoughts. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Chill Podcast. If you'd like to tune into my ASMR channel, and I can whisper in your ear every Friday night, that'll work. That's my
concluding thoughts are,
wow, hey, everybody, this is Gage the Giant signing off. Wow!
Amazing.